up to 12 women every day, leave Ireland for something that should be accessible here in Ireland. And it really feeds into this wider narrative of how we treat women.
The referendum is coming about now because in 1983 we had an amendment put into our constitution which completely outlawed any legislation regarding abortion. Abortion was already illegal in Ireland, so it was forces of mainly religious groups that came together to bully politicians and to force their hand to get this into our constitution.
So it's a wider issue in Ireland. It's not just about the Eighth Amendment. We've been so suppressed by the church with regards to our sexual education and their ownership over that. And ever since, I think, the youth saw what happened with the marriage referendum a few years ago, and that was such a grassroots campaign, and it was showing that you can change things.
I was told in my Catholic school that the best form of contraception is no. So, I mean, it was just so ridiculous.
I don't think there's an apathy anymore. People are very engaged because they're extremely enraged that a lot of their rights have been compromised. It's a really, really kind of problematic and divisive time, and I don't think certainly women anymore are standing for it. We're seeing kind of across the world this reactionary movement towards nationalism.
After a marriage referendum, people were trained in canvassing. People were trained in being political. People realised that you didn't have to be an activist to be an activist. Everyone was an activist.
It made us realise that our voices were important and that it could lead to change, despite what we may have believed before about politics in Ireland.
We all contributed to it being passed because we went home, we had the conversations with people, we tried to change minds in a way. The repeal referendum is quite similar because really, we only got here through mobilising, young people.
I think people are ashamed. I think that people have realised that it's humiliating for us to not be able to provide basic healthcare to half of our citizens and to have to send them to the UK.
If you want something, you have to actively put it in place because all of the things that stopped women from having these opportunities were put in place. They were organised so that women couldn't do these things.
A lot of men feel like this isn't their issue and that they just want to stay out of it and it's a women's thing. And they tend to be the ones who kind of would be on the yes side. Because if a no vote was to go through, for example, abortions aren't going to stop. They're not going to stop. So even if you are a no campaigner, you haven't changed anything. You've just maintained the status quo of unsafe abortions.
It's just taken for granted that abortion should be here. Repealing the Eighth is where we need to be. We should believe in women. We should listen to their voices. We should believe in the medical profession who have also said that this amendment should be repealed.
I think in the last year, because of the big Me Too movement and the Women's March and We Grab Back and all those great phrases, I think it's timely. People are really, really filled with confidence now that it's not just Ireland kind of suffering here. I think definitely going to the marches and being physically present and using the kind of old-fashioned ways, essentially, of activism by making signs or, making your voice heard, I think that's super important.
If you believe, that a woman who has been raped or a woman who's carrying a fatal fetal abnormality or just for any change to happen, you need to vote yes.
So now's just the final push. I mean, if you have the time, go out, canvass, get involved, just it has to pass.
And it's time for women to come out of the shadows and women's rights to be centre stage because we're not ashamed anymore to say that it's all about us.